to Level Up and Live, the podcast that brings you inspiring stories of personal transformation and growth. I'm your host, Sean Myers, joined by my co-host, Ewan Heinmeyer. And today, we have an incredible guest joining us in the virtual studio, Dr. Clay Worrell. Clay's journey is a testament to the power of resilience and determination. From humble beginnings in a mobile home to becoming one of the top achievers in corporate America, Clay has faced numerous challenges, including battling alcohol addiction. But through his own experience and innovative approach, he found the keys to breaking free and now dedicates his life to helping others do the same. Get ready to be inspired as Clay shares his insights on overcoming obstacles, finding purpose, and living an epic life.
And so the name of our podcast and business is Level Up and Live. And we focus on becoming elite in all areas of life, not just one. And the guest that we have on today, Clay Worrell, I don't know if there's, this might be the epitome of leveling up, right? Well, this conversation we're going to get into today, you had leveled up in your life to some of the highest heights, top 1% of America in business, and lost it all. And you're going to get into this with us. And you've somehow managed not, so you leveled all the way down after leveling all the way up. And now you have leveled up all the way past where you were before and more. And so who better to talk to than you? Like Clay Worrell, you own Victory Now programs, the Epic Life Solutions programs. You've literally helped millions of people. You are truly impacting people's lives, like bringing families together. Like this is not some theoretical deal that you like to talk about. This is lives that you've changed. So we're super grateful for you coming on the show, man. It's super exciting to have you. And so from there, if you could give us a little background about yourself, just fill the audience in, and we'll get into it.
Well, look, I'll give you the Reader's Digest version. So as a young boy, I grew up fairly poor. I was working on the farm from the age of 9. And working in restaurants and mowing grass. So I made my mind up that I did not want to live that way as an adult. So I read How to Win Friends and Influence People at the age of 17 by the recommendation of a teacher at school. And I jumped into real estate at the age of 19. And by the age of 22, I had a little BMW and a Mercedes and 3 houses. One I lived in and 2 I rented out. Alcohol creeped into my life. And a little bit of powder cocaine use creeped into my life on the weekends. So going through school, I was an awarded athlete in football, baseball, and in martial arts. I was also a wrestler, but I didn't do very well in that. I just didn't have a lot of technique there. But I guess you could say I had a lot of grit, just very inward determination. I give a lot of credit to my dad for telling me the words at a very, very young age. Clay, you can do anything you set your mind to doing. I believe in you, and I believe that you're one of the most intelligent, athletic. You can do anything you set your mind to. And I believed him. So I jumped into the corporate side of housing. I flipped over to manufactured housing with a Fortune 100 company at the time. And at the age of 25, I was the youngest to ever be promoted to general manager. And I took a store that was ranked 374th out of 378. So it's 4th from the bottom, and never made a profitable dollar in 8 years. And in the first 18 months, the first full business year, we finished number 2 in the nation in volume. And I won Manager of the Year with a Fortune 100. That's good, but it also definitely had its not so good effects in that ego, vanity, pride, perhaps delusional in thinking that the rules that apply to other people didn't apply to me when it came to things like excessive alcohol and the use of powder cocaine. So September 2nd of 2001, I was shot in the head point blank with a 9 millimeter. The good side of that was I was an atheist or an unbeliever my whole life, but I went to heaven. So I had said this prayer of salvation about 6 weeks before being shot in the head. So stayed in the hospital a little over a month, and I coded there or whatnot. So I died there for a little while, or transitioned, or whatever you want to call it. And from there things really got bad. I went through a lot of operations. The bullet went in here and come out over there. So a lot of operations. All that's titanium now. And I ended up losing at this time, I'd left corporate America, bought my own businesses, and I ended up losing those, lost my marriage along the way, the cars and the boats and the Harleys and, um, the Rolexes and the Cuban cigars. And really, I went straight into a place that was very unfamiliar to me as a person, and that would be depression and just hopelessness. So I ended up being homeless for about 12 years. And when I say that, I mean I was living with family and friends, cheap hotels. And when I say cheap, I mean cheap, cheap hotels and halfway houses. I ended up in 10 plus jails, 90 days prison because I wouldn't do my probation stuff for a DUI. So it sent me to prison for 90 days. And I became and I turned into someone with an enormous amount of suicidal ideation. I tried to kill myself 3 times. One night I took 58 pills and cut a garden hose and duct taped it to the tailpipe and duct taped it to the inside of the window at about 2 in the morning. And I finally, I thought finally I'll be out of here. I'll be free. I had come to the place in my life where there wasn't anything in business or sports, or it seemed life, that I couldn't do with a made up mind. But even with a made up mind and all the willpower that an awarded athlete and an awarded businessman and a guy with a pretty decent IQ, with all those things, it was still no match for what I was facing. I ended up in 25 plus detox units, 20 plus hospitals, 3 psych wards, and 4 inpatient programs, trying to break this alcohol and addiction cycle. And
Mm.
April 9th of 2014, I took my last drink. So it's been a little bit over 10 years ago. And
Nice.
what I found, yeah, to God be all the glory. What I found was this, and Dr. Lance Dodds of Harvard, you can Google his thoughts on the treatment models in America. And not only are they bad, but they're worse than bad. Sometimes they actually damage the individual. The data is clear. We average less than a 7% success rate with the treatment models in America. Less than
Wow.
7%. And when I read that, I didn't doubt it a bit because I was one of them. You know what I mean? I was right there in them. So, when I broke this cycle about a little bit over 10 years ago, I immediately wanted to help other people. I
Yeah.
immediately, you know, when the corporate side and the business side, those guys were still kind of following me, and I've got some great friends. I just officiated the wedding of my first mentor in business, maybe about 2 years ago. But they started calling, "Hey, man, I mean, let's get it, man. You're back. Let's roll." But I had a choice to make. I found that what I was looking for in life couldn't be bought.
Mm.
It It couldn't be bought at a big box store or a Jaguar dealership or at the Sea Ray dealership. I couldn't find it in a topless bar. I couldn't find it in a woman. I couldn't find it in a bottle. I couldn't find it in a bag. I couldn't
Yeah.
find it in a 5+ star resort. I couldn't find it on a cruise ship. I found love and peace and joy that it supersedes all of my understanding to this day. To this day, since April 9th of 2014, I have not had one bad day. Not one. I've had
Let's
tough
go.
moments. I've had difficult moments, but I've learned and I teach how to take those difficult moments that we have. We all have them. We have them daily. Sometimes those moments would keep me for 5, 6, 7, 8 hours, 10 hours, stay up here in my head, battlefield of the mind. But I learned how to take thoughts captive. I learned how to cast down imaginations. I learned how to become more self aware, but I learned, and I'm still learning, emotional intelligence. And I
Mm.
drifted away from this traditional, um, you're going to find happiness in the next car or the next promotion. And I discovered with a growth mindset. A growth mindset looks like this. The old way says go to the gym to lose 25 pounds. That's the old mindset. Go to the gym to bench press 300 pounds. That's the old mindset. The growth mindset says I love myself. I love myself to take care of myself so I can take care of my family. I can't love my family. I can't give my family wisdom. I can't give them strength. I can't give them myself. I can't give them anything that I don't have myself. So, in a growth mindset says go to that gym to stay healthy, to be healthy. A growth mindset, there's really no finish line. You know what I mean? And life is like that. Life doesn't have a finish line. We are eternal beings. We're a spirit with a soul that's in a body. And I can assure you, uh, the doctors say I've been dead 3 times. I'll only agree to 2 of them. And I've been to heaven once. I've been to heaven once, and that picture's, I could even show it to you. That picture's hanging in my bedroom.
Clay, man, I just love everything that you
Anyway,
said, and I resonate with a lot of things that you're saying as far as like the way we were raised, right? And I go back to my childhood. Ewan knows my story. My dad, hardcore, grit, determination. You work hard,
yeah,
but he's also, so everything that you're saying, like, I got that, right? That is a strength. I got the ambition, I got the drive,
yeah.
but I struggle. But you know what I struggle with?
What?
Empathy, compassion, love. And those are the things that I've had to work on in my life. I've heard you say things like ego, pride, and obviously you went into corporate America, went from 374 out of 378 to second place. So I really want to unpack a lot that you said, but I'm curious on let's start there and then we can transition into unpacking some of this other stuff that I just feel like is going to be so important that I'm curious for myself is what took you from going in there in 12 to 18 months, going from ranking 374, because I know a lot of people are probably listening to this like, what did he do,
Okay.
right? And
Hmm.
who did you become from 374 to number 2? So what were the one or two different things that you went in there into this company that did this? Because we have business owners that have employees, that have team members, and they work with other individuals. But man, that's a huge gap to close in that amount of time.
I discovered this about life. I discovered it a long time ago. I believe this is my personal belief. I believe that people aren't the self-actualization. People aren't seeing and capturing and seizing their best selves or the best out of others from the lack of belief. Hear me well. Hear me
That's
well.
good.
Here's the key. Here's the key. In that market, what I did was I interviewed somewhere in Delaware. I forgot, it might be Delmar, Delaware. They offered me a store. We had 2 private jets. I flew around, um, flew to Florida, a couple places down there. We were opening stores, and then they offered me a place called Casey, Cayce, South Carolina, which was horribly ranked. Well, but when I looked on the map, Casey looked like to me it was totally enveloped by Columbia, the capital. I said, hold on a minute. Let me go down and take a look at the store. Drove down, stayed at the hotel. I walked out there. It looked like a trash dumpster, first of all. Horrific curb appeal. Absolutely horrific. You've got seconds, literally seconds. So when you study curb appeal, you want something, a broad opening. You would rather be elevated than down as far as a retail location. So I looked at traffic count. I knew I could do something with the curb appeal, which took a lot. But I had the traffic count. I had the median income that I was looking for. I had the demographics and geographics. The people were there. It was truly, the problem there was the man and not the land. Now I can tell you, it is location, 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 and location. Don't ever think you're going to buck that rule. You can buck that rule only when the market is just getting started. You know what I mean? And there's a high demand. But I'm telling you, man, where the rubber meets the road and all of a sudden the playing field gets leveled out, you want location. So I knew the location was good. I knew I could order the correct inventory. I knew that with time I could hire the right people. I knew that I could train them. I knew that my advertising ability was as good as anyone in the country. So what I did was I stepped back, and before I do anything, I investigate. I use things like biographies of other people, and I realize there's nothing special about special people. I mean, it's there's just not. I mean, there's just not one. I want to say another word for it, but I'll say daggone. There's not a daggone thing special. I mean, my God, some of the greatest athletes that we remember today were cut from their high school teams.
Yeah.
They didn't start. I mean, Brady. Look at Tom Brady, man. I mean, my God, this guy. Read his bio. He's supposedly the greatest quarterback ever. Read the guy's bio, man. I mean, nobody gave him a snowball's chance in hell of Tom Brady being the Tom Brady he is today. Michael Jordan. He's just not good enough. He's not good enough for a high school team. Greatest basketball player. But the list goes on. The list goes on. The difference is Harvard come out with a study beyond EQ, IQ, grades, degrees, pedigree, your last name, even superseding your relationships, which is key in business. GRIT, 4-letter word that just that's the number one characteristic of your high performers. So you ask, how did I do it? I believed. Did it
Right
look
there, that
like hell
word.
on? Yeah, I mean, did it look like hell for the first 90 days, 120 days? It was bad. I mean,
Yeah.
it was bad. Um,
Mm.
but I believed. I believed, and I am just that type of person. I am not going to be beat. I'm not going out like that. I'm not
Mm.
going out like that.
Clay, when you say all that, man, I hear every word you're saying. I resonate with that. I know Sean does too.
Yeah.
And we've both experienced this, not to the level that you have, but man, when you started speaking, when you asked the question there, you just started speaking, and it was just flew out, like it was like you were breathing air, like you just knew exactly what to do, and it was like you were just driven to do it with the grit, and you made it happen. But it resulted and you end up drinking, and it led to not that led to a bad place, but it's like kind of coincides. We've done similar things. When I've been succeeding, my head's been down, I'm on that mission, and I'm missing these other areas that are significantly more important. If I think about Michael Jordan on The Last Dance, there was a moment when he said that there were people around him that they didn't like him, and he I want to say he didn't cry, but he had some tears in his eyes. He
Yeah,
was miserable. Like,
yeah,
I don't know if Michael Jordan's a very happy person. Like, he's the number one. He's the best. We love him. And same with Tom Brady. Just went through a divorce and all this
yeah.
stuff. He's lost a lot of what he had. And you are probably one of the best people to talk about this. Like, how could you have that grit, and yet, because now what you talk about is all the other areas that you'd focus on, right? Having a relationship with God. How do you do it with success, overall success, right? Like, instead of just we hit those targets, but at what cost, right? Like, what starts the drinking? I feel on that, man. I used to be a drinker. Never, it never cost me. Well, I say it didn't cost me anything. I think it probably did.
Yeah.
But not to the extent that you did. But how would you, like someone young listening to this, or even anybody, they're after that position, they're after that title, they're after the
Hmm.
cars.
Hmm.
How do you get them to shift the mindset before it happens? Because normally for Sean will say it, he burned out, he was on the couch, went and got a life coach. For me, same thing, kind of rock bottom before I went to kind of turn it all around.
Sure.
How can it be done? Can it be done?
Yeah.
It
Where you
can
can
be
have
done.
both.
Well, it can be done, but the first person you're going to have to sell is yourself. You're going to have to sell yourself on number one, I need to change. Number two, I can change. And number three, yeah, in other words, do that from being observant, which is exactly what you just pointed out. So you're starting to see, this isn't adding up.
Yeah.
Here's the here's a sentence that would encapsulate or kind of quantify, kind of give a some meaning to humanity. The pursuit of dopamine
Mm.
at all cost. At all cost. Human beings, uh, they'll look at a porn site till their marriage is destroyed. Dopamine. Um, they'll put work in because now all of a sudden their identity is in their accolades, their work, their achievements, their this and their that. That's not your identity. That might
Mm.
be something that you received for performing, but that's not your identity. Your identity is this: you're fearfully and wonderfully made in the image and in the likeness of Almighty God. Psalm 139:14 and Genesis 1:26. That's your identity. You're more than a conqueror in Romans. You're his masterpiece of all creation in Ephesians. You're a child of the Most High God. And works didn't get that for you. There's nothing you can do to earn that. There's nothing you can do to lose that. There's no amount. He loves you and he loves me. When accepting him as my Lord and Savior, my identity is in him and him alone. That was a
Clay,
game
do you
Yeah,
changer
think
for me.
do you
I
think
love that.
so? I'm list If you're talking to your younger self right now, so you have earbuds in 2 decades ago, 3 decades ago, whenever it was when you got into corporate America, you're hearing you talk right now. You're talking to your younger self, right? Because you're qualified to do that because you've been through it. What do you need to hear to shift that mindset?
I would have Clay evaluate and look at and something that I didn't have the ability to do then because I just didn't have the knowledge to do it. Play the tape forward. Play the tape forward with this drinking. Find me one successful human being, one successful man that drinks like you're drinking, Clay. Play the tape forward with relation. Play the tape forward with you not going to the gym. Play the tape forward with you not being a part of the community. Play the tape forward with not addressing your mental, spiritual, physical, and relational health. Play the tape forward, Clay. And let's see where that, because I knew there were a couple of people that I really admired that were businessmen that were 20, 30 years older than I was, and they had a great marriage. You know, their countenance, their character, their spirit was very poised and very beautiful and a controlled strength there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They walked and they talked and they communicated with honor, with integrity, with honesty, with transparency. They were highly disciplined in their personal life and in their spiritual and their physical and their business. What happens to a lot of men and women, but it happens to men a lot, I call it we hide behind our skill sets. We hide behind our title. And that's what I did. You know, you find great singers or great athletes or great businessmen or all this other stuff. I used to somewhat hide behind that. People were intimidated to talk to me about it if they did see a problem. He's the guy that solves everybody's problems. He's the guy that blah, 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 blah. And, what do? We throw some money at him. We donate some money. We show up in our fancy car with our, tailor-made clothes. We drop some money over here and there. And, to the world, it looks like you've got it all together. But inwardly, and I knew it at the age of about 25, 26 years old, I was riding down Interstate 26. I had a brand new Lincoln blacked out, pulling my Harley on an open trailer behind me. Had me a fifth of Crown. Had me one mixed up in my tumbler. Had my one of my humidors right there in the passenger side. Had me an 8-ball. Riding down the road, listening to the Pulp Fiction soundtrack. I'll never forget it. And I looked over out of my window. I was on my way back home from Columbia, South Carolina, and it was the Sea Ray Jaguar dealership that were right beside each other. And guys, it was the weirdest thing. I'd just gotten back from the bank. I always walked around with 5, 7, 10 grand on me cash. Here I am with a Cuban, pocket full of cash, just checked my banking account in 6 digits. I'm 26 years old. I've got it all. I mean, I've just seemed to have it all. And beautiful wife. I mean, trophy wife. You know what I mean? I've got it all. But when I looked out that window, there was a brief moment. Maybe it lasted 2 seconds. I knew that I knew that I knew that I didn't have what I really wanted.
Wow.
I knew it. And I knew it was God. But you see, God's not in the business of, the problem with me was I always wanted it to be Clay and Jesus in that order. And that's not how it works. He came to be Lord. He came to be your Savior. He came to be Lord of your life. I haven't found one man that ever regretted putting the bottle down. Not one. I mean, to this date, I can't find one. And I haven't found one man to this day who say who says they regret having a life, a Christ centered life.
So
Okay,
Clay,
you
why do
said,
why oh go ahead, Ewan.
I was going to say, you said you were hiding. We hide behind the titles, we hide behind the possessions and the lifestyle, we hide behind those things. And drinking is, for lack of a better term, self medication, right? Like we're self medicating from something. And I'm sure it's tied into the hiding of sorts, because that's just another form of hiding in the alcohol. What is it we're hiding from, you think?
You know, I drank because I enjoyed it. Um, I mean,
Makes you feel good.
it was the way I was raised. My dad drank every single day of the week, man. 365 days, he got off work and he drank. So for me, my mind, the number one causal factor for an addiction issue, a substance abuse issue with a child, the number one causal factor is the parent. The child seeing the parent ingest mind altering chemicals, no matter what they be, we are the child's role model, like it or not. When that kid sees you drinking, they think, I mean, they just think, well, okay, well, I mean, that's what we're supposed to do. So
Hmm.
I had alcohol in my life for a long time, but a day came when it had me. I
Yeah.
had it, and the day came. It was when I was about 29 and a half years old. It was right before I turned 30. I woke up nauseated. I heard a song, it's some little Sheryl Crow song, good beer buzz in the morning. I said, why not, man? I feel so terrible. And I took a drink early in the morning. And I was in my first drinking binge. That was the first of hundreds, I'm sure. I never counted them, but I would say definitely hundreds. And what it looked like for me was, drinking uh, all day, all night, and no food, no water, no anything, just drinking, and pain pills or powder. And that would go on for 10, 12, 13 days. About 13 days, as long as I can make it, without checking myself into a hospital to get a shot of Toradol or Thorazine. IVs jammed in me because I'm so dehydrated, and off to another detox unit I'd go. But what are we hiding from? Most of the time, it's trauma. It's trauma, but it's unforgiveness. That's the
Hmm.
seed. It's
Hmm.
unforgiveness of yourself, something that you've done or haven't done, or unforgiveness of another.
Hmm.
And this idea, just because you grew up in a family that had money or has money and grew up at the nice schools and had nice cars and clothes and stuff like that, and you've got what the world says is a dream life, that you've never been through any trauma, is a lie. I haven't met
Yeah.
a man walking on this planet who hasn't got some experiences from childhood, that were traumatic to that person. I realize if it's written out or typed out, or I were to read it right now, we'd all be scratching our head like, it don't seem like no trauma to me. What do you mean? The father wouldn't spend enough time with him, when he was a kid? And, so instead of spending time with him, on the golf course, he just sent him over to the golf pro and he had golf lessons. And then he got entered into the kids, golf school. And, I mean, look, he was a golfer all through school. That wasn't the point. The point was the kid wanted your time. And to him, that's the seed. There's a trauma there. It's an incredible thing how it kind of unwinds. You'd be
And people
amazed.
might say that it's not, well, they don't suffer from alcohol. Well, I don't drink, so it doesn't really. But it's somewhere they're doing. If they haven't done the work that you've done or the work that needs to be done, it might be food. It might be pornography, like you said, that there's some form of medication. It might be just constant cell phone use. There's something there that if people haven't addressed what you're talking about, they're going to find some form that's impacting them somewhere from keeping them being the best version of themselves.
That's it,
Right.
brother.
Yeah, it's so it's applicable to everybody,
Well,
like
you
what you're talking
find
about.
we have an epidemic of aimlessness. Aimlessness. Imagine you and I getting in uh, a jet, that cost, I don't know, 100 million to build. We get in one of the most elite, elaborate pieces of machinery that mankind has ever made. Imagine us getting in that this afternoon. We hit the throttles, we take off. You talk to the tower. Tower says, "Where are you headed?" And you say, "Well, hell, I don't know. I don't know where I'm going." This is the most beautiful, designed, intricate, the brain, our mind, our lives. We are the pinnacle of all creation, the masterpiece. We are the elite. We're at the top of the food chain, man. But you ask people with brilliant minds just sitting there, what's your plan? What's your vision? What's your goals?
Yeah.
Aimlessness takes you right over. In other words, nihilistic, self. And it festers and it implodes. Self always implodes on self. Self always implodes. Thoughts, thinking about ourself are identical. They measure identically to depressive thoughts. So when we're consumed by self, oh man, it's a bad road, brother. You have to have a vision. You have to have somewhat of a defined purpose, and you have to be taking some steps to get there, no matter how big or how
So,
small.
man, everything that you're saying, I resonate with in the fact that because a lot of times we put our head down, we put our head in the sand, and we have that grit, we have that determination on the outcome, the destination that we want to accomplish, right? If you're goal oriented, if you're ambitious. And that's one of the things we preach here at Level Up and Live is going through and being aware and not neglecting these different areas of life. So, but one of the things that I have found, Clay, is that in the coaching clients that I've worked with, and even our community and friends and family that I've surrounded myself with over the last couple decades, is it's almost like that these individuals, myself included, has to go through some type of trauma, some type of wake-up call, punch in the mouth to go, oh, I need to make a change, right? Whether that's a divorce, whether that's going to the doctor's office and saying, hey, if you don't do something about this, you're going to have a heart attack in 6 months, right? Or, hey, by the way, you've been living paycheck to paycheck for the last 6 years. The economy's been great, but now it's winter season, right? Inflation's hitting. You haven't saved a dime. So now you're having to file for bankruptcy because you lost your job. So my question is, why are we not doing anything about it when we hear us talk, when we hear Clay, when we hear Dr. Clay, when we have businesses out there, when we have podcasts out there, and we hear this stuff? Why do we have to go through this? Why did you have to go through the experience that you went through? The traumas, the sleepless nights, the anxiety, the stress, all these different experiences. In my mind, it's like, man, that's my purpose, is to help others. And like, I don't care how long it takes, but if they heard it 15, 20, 25 times, like, you know what? That's the time I heard it when Clay was speaking. I don't want to end up there.
Yeah.
What do I need to do? Here's my wake-up call. And that's what drives me and gets me out of bed every single morning.
That's it,
is
brother.
to prevent that Sean Myers going through the last decade of what I went through. right?
Yes, sir.
Emotional
Mhm.
eating,
Yeah.
unfulfilledness, unhappiness, lack of joy, lack of vitality, lack of bliss, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
And I think we can all agree that's what we spend our time, energy, and effort on. And I think that's what all fires us up. And I just hope that lands with the people listening to this in your story because it's so powerful. I've literally taken half a dozen gulps of your story. I mean, because I get it, I understand. I've received it's landed with me. I'm
Okay.
like, I need to do this, this, and this because if not, then this is what happens. And that's the way I look at it. Like, here are the consequences. If I don't do this, this, and this is what's going to happen in a bad way,
Mhm.
Well, the
right?
problem, with us is we carry ourselves with us everywhere we go. You know, so I mean,
Yeah.
it don't matter where you move. I mean, like I moved from Goldsboro to Greenville, North Carolina, Columbia, South Carolina, then moved down to West Palm Beach. Then I moved over to Austin, Texas, back to Columbia. I carried myself with me everywhere I went, and
Yep.
with a growth mindset. Playing the tape forward is a wonderful thing. I would say
Mhm.
this: when on earth, if you're an elite-minded, high-achieving man, um, if you're a man that, let's look at it from this angle: the top professionals in the world in sports. Remember now, they're number one in the world in sports. Do they still have a coach?
Yes.
Why? They're number one in the world. Why would they need a coach? I mean, why
They have
wouldn't
more.
the bottom 10% need it? In other words, at what point do they not need a coach? Here's my point. We need someone speaking into our lives. We need
Mm.
mentors. We need coaches. You call us whatever you want to call us. I have one. I don't have just one. I've got 4 or 5.
You know.
Yeah, I mean, I've got some very powerful men that speak into my life. I give them permission to speak into my life. I desire to hear their story. You know,
Mm.
no, not one. I've never met one person on this side of eternity that says, Clay, I've got it all figured out. I hadn't met that guy. I've not met the guy
Right.
that says, Clay, I got it all figured out. It's a wrap, Daddy. I got it all figured out.
Yeah.
And the one that says they do, they they're in trouble.
Uh-oh. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, the cool thing about life is if you've achieved some things in life and you've won some things or accomplished some things or accomplished some goals, here's something that happens to you. When you walk across that stage and you get the award, when you hit that milestone, when you achieve your goal, you guys know what I'm talking about, and I'm sure most of the listeners do. What happens? Immediately, what happens? I mean, just like that, what happens? Your brain goes, now what?
Yep.
Now
What's
what?
next?
Yeah.
The
Now
first
what the
thing.
hell do I do?
Where's the next target?
I mean,
Yep.
damn, I'm number one in the country. Now what do I do? I believe I believe that we should be set a goal, set a vision that is able not to terrify or scare you, but set it outside of the realm of your current ability.
Mm. Yeah.
Set it outside the realm of your current ability. And there's Jordan Peterson nailed it when he said, I challenge you to find a better feeling than that feeling of knowing that you've helped another person. And
Mm.
he's right. The
Yeah.
point with setting those goals and constantly moving the goalpost, and by the way, your purpose changes just like a football season. You got the preseason, postseason, pro-season, you got the playoffs, quarterback, the regionals. Our life changes. As a young man, your purpose, your goal might be this. You have a child, your goal purpose may change. You get married, goal, purpose may change. Something bad or something kind of radical happens in your life, your purpose, goal may change. In other words, allow that thing to morph, allow that thing to change. But that thing that's inside of your heart and in your mind, if you don't take action and pursue it, it'll haunt you to your last breath on this side of eternity. Yoke up, meet up. You know, like the stuff I teach, I mean, I have talked about Christ. I've talked about God. The last time I checked, you could take a block of air this big and leave it there for 5 trillion years. All this isn't coming out of that. And now, man, I mean, when you've got quantum entanglement, when you start studying quantum and you start studying dimensions, when you start studying the human being itself, you could take all of humanity and put us in a sugar cube. 8 billion people will fit inside of a sugar cube. Google it. That's how much actual physical matter is inside of us. All of us, all 8 billion will fit in a sugar cube. Then you look at our sight. We think that we're seeing. Google that one. You're seeing 0.0035% of the available what our eyes are seeing. We're not even seeing 1% of what's there. Here's what I'm trying to say. We're vibration. We're energy. We are spirit with a soul that's in a body that's been designed to conquer, to subdue, and to rule over this earth. But we were designed for relationship. If I had $10 billion a day and your viewers, I said, if I give you $10 billion tomorrow, wouldn't that be the greatest thing that ever happened to you? Yeah, Clay, yeah, $10 billion tomorrow would be the greatest thing. All right, but if I give you $10 billion today, but you're not going to be breathing or waking up tomorrow morning, would you take the $10 billion? Well, no. Hold on now. What about I give you the $10 billion, but tomorrow you're paralyzed from the neck down? Neck down. 10 billion? Nah. What about I give you the 10 billion, but tomorrow and forevermore, no dog, no cat, no relationship, no kids. You're alone on this earth, completely alone. But you got $10 billion, would you take? No. Here's what I'm saying. We have more than what $10 billion could buy right now. Man, be grateful for we're not owed anything. I'm not entitled to air. And to prove it, when you're taking your last breath, demand another breath. Let's see how that works out for you. What I'm saying is, it's a gift. Life's a gift. And we're designed to help and to love and encourage, exhort, empower, and lift each other up.
That's Amen, brother. Beautifully said, Clay. Man, I'm sitting here leaning in this entire 45 minutes of this episode. I'm like, this is one of those episodes where I'm like, not only I know the listeners and audience that they're receiving, and this is landing with me, and I know it's landing with you, and both of us normally ask way more questions and we do way more talking, but I'm like, I don't want to. I want to let Clay, because of just how you've shown up, your poise, your humbleness, and your language, you can tell that you have not only been through this, but you have come out of this. And to me, that's inspiration, man. And I'm so honored to be here with you today. I'm so grateful that you've showed up. I'm so grateful that you got in, figured the technology out as well.
That was awesome.
So we're just man, so much gratitude for you, Clay. Final 2 questions, brother. How can our listeners, I mean, you have provided so much value today. The bombs have been just dropped, right? And one of the words that I've heard that you've said repeatedly that I'm a big believer in is belief and believing. And I believe in you. And I just want to acknowledge that. And I believe in what you're doing. You're serving, you're impacting. And so I want our listeners and even Level Up and Live to support you in any which way we can. So how can we support you, brother?
If you would, you could go to Clay at IHaveVictoryNow.com. You can send me an email. The IHaveVictoryNow.com, the 49-day program is for elite-minded, high-achieving men and their spouse with an excessive drinking issue. Epic Life Solutions has been around for about 5 years. That thing, man, it's just incredible. It's fixing the gut. Well, it's already on. They put it on there last week. We're going to be launching that thing across the world on a major TV network. And I'm going to be bringing that thing to people by subscription for just $47 at 3 payments. That same program is over $7,000 on an individual basis. So there's a lot of transformation that's going on internally. We are literally fixing to be doing what we're doing right now. Will be what I'm going to be doing hopefully in the next 90 days, full time, 24/7. So if you would just put up my email address, you go ahead and put my phone number up, 919-252-9552. That's my personal cell phone.
I love you, man.
Let's go.
You
Look,
put
that's my
yourself out there.
personal
I
cell
love it.
phone. And I mean this from the bottom of my heart. I can't help you until you make a decision with me. But I'm not here and I'm not in the business of letting people fail, period, in life, period. And I do coaching, I do business coaching, and I still do some corporate training with retail and real estate and stuff like that. And most of everything, I've given a whole lot more away than I've charged for. I'll put it that way. A lot more.
Yeah.
God has blessed us. We sold some land maybe about 5, 6 years ago. We dropped well over 100K into building all this stuff, and we help the veterans. We help, women and children and families. Look, if God never did anything else for me, what He did within me, uh,
Mm.
and what He gave me 10 years ago, if He would have never done one more thing, then He'd already done enough. I'm a
It's beautiful.
witness to there's definitely something bigger out there than ourselves, and He loves you dearly. Um, but I teach on cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical therapy, William Glasser's choice theory. I blend in biblical precepts along with neuroscience, backed info on noradrenaline, uh, 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 serotonin, dopamine, cortisol. So we talk about the neurological side, vision and goal setting. That's just what I love to do. And no man left behind. You call me, we'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
Beautiful.
Love it,
Beautiful.
man.
Let's get
Final
back
question.
together again, man. I love you guys. Let's talk off air if y'all would. Send me over your contact info, and let's definitely, hook up and talk on a couple of Zooms together.
Yes, definitely.
100%. Final question,
I love
Clay.
you
What does
guys.
level up? What does level up and live mean to you?
Level up and live means exactly what you guys are doing right now. With love in your heart, and you're expressing compassion and empathy. Love in the Bible is written hundreds of times. Not one time does it mean a feeling. It's an action. Love is an action. So leveling up is, to me, means that I'm going to pay attention to that my mind is no good without my body. My body is no good without my mind, but I can have my body and mind. And when I'm imploding on nothing but self, and more self, right? And I'm chasing dopamine like some kind of rabid dog, just like I did for so many years of my life. Get off of that hamster wheel of chasing that dopamine. Start enjoying the journey. And leveling up is self-actualization. There's never been another Sean or Edwin, Clay, there's never been another you that are listening to it. Not out of 100 billion people that have been on planet Earth since it's been here. There's never, ever been another you, and there never, ever will be another you. And I'm going to tell you, the world is going to be a better place. a more beautiful place if you'll let that divine purpose be released into the earth. If you hold on to it out of fear, or you don't get some mentorship or coaching or whatever it might be, and you don't ever have that moment of self actualization and releasing that gift to the world suffers. So I'm a big believer that leveling up, hey man, and live, let's get it on. One day at a time. Let's get it
Man,
on.
I could listen. I could listen to you on repeat all day, man.
Look, I love you
That was
guys, man.
amazing.
Yeah.
I love you too, man.
Let's
That
hook
was
up and do it
beautiful.
again, just because I love y'all
Yes.
like that. I'll be honest with you. I mean, I have no idea where in the world you are right now. I'm talking to you, but let's definitely connect. You've got my phone number. Give me a call when we get off air, and maybe we'll shoot another
Yeah.
one of these or whatever. We'll do something.
That would be awesome, man.
I
Absolutely.
love you
man.
guys.
Really appreciate you, man. Love you too, man. I'm filled with joy and love right now. I feel great.
I do love you.
Level up and live.
Level up and live. Thanks, Clay.
That concludes today's episode of the Level Up and Live podcast. A huge thank you to our guest, Dr. Clay Worrell, for sharing his incredible journey and insights with us. If you found value in today's episode, don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. And while you're there, we'd greatly appreciate it if you could leave us a review on what you liked about the show. Your feedback helps us improve and reach more listeners like you. And remember, the greatest gift you can give is sharing. If you know someone who could benefit from Clay's story, be sure to share this episode with them. Until next time, keep leveling up and living your best life. Level up and live.